Okay, hello everyone. We are live streaming today. I thought we'd do something a little different and live stream this right to YouTube. My name is Dr. Jennifer Gardella, and I'm here to talk to you about checking in with domestic violence victims at the holidays. In your office, in your personal life, you may have a victim who you support. They won't leave the abuser. You know he's a jerk and they just won't leave. And based on my personal experience as a victim, I was the victim of vicious domestic violence at the hands of a sadistic abuser. The holidays are some of the most high rev experiences that a victim can go through. So you are saying goodbye, have a great holiday today in the office, or over the holiday, you may not be spending time with your victim, but you may check in with her, and it's a really good idea to do that. So I want to first say that the type of abuse that victims will experience over the holidays fall under three broad categories. Now, everything is based on the abuser having power and control over every situation and always looking good. This is why the abuser typically tends to go a little crazy during the holidays because there's other foci, I should say, and the abuser is not always the focus of attention. So the abuser, through either complete control, complete indifference, or massive constant complaining, remains in control of the situation. And you can see this, right? If someone is always complaining, always dictating, always, and then pretending like they don't care, they actually have a lot of control of the situation. So his goal is to have complete control, and I can't tell you which one he's going to use, but I can give you examples. So remember, his goal is power and control and to make her feel useless and worthless. So the first thing that he'll do is to determine himself where the holidays are going to be spent. This is particularly loaded. Usually it's either with his people, like always, or it's with her people, and he will complain the entire time. So in many families, couples switch back and forth between family visiting with certain family for the holidays. One holiday may be with his family, one holiday may be with hers. And it's either with hers, but whatever he does, he's making the decision, he's okaying it, and he is complaining. The next is that he acts like a jerk, like an abuser the entire time. So again, he has a plan and everybody must follow it, even though at times the plan is very confusing. So he tends to tell the plan in short pieces and never really gives you the full story. This can be, where you're spending the holidays, and you're spending the holidays with his sister in Virginia. You find out the weekend before Thanksgiving through talking to his mom. That's a true story, by the way. How are we getting there? Are we driving? What day are we going? And he makes it seem like the victim is making a big deal out of it. He can also change plans on an instant. You know what? We're going to have it here instead of drive to your family's in Vermont. I mean, abusers change the plan all the time. And then he'll always throw in well, of course, you want to spend the holidays with your husband. I'm more important than your family, right? And so the victim is really stuck. And then he'll always change the time. So he'll tell the victim, have dinner on the table at 6 o'clock, and the family shows up at 2, and she is completely unprepared. But he will then start to rant and rave about how she got the time wrong. It's gaslighting. He's making her feel like she's going crazy. So constant changing of the plan, and also constant blaming of her for when he chooses to change the plan. So, and then he won't go along with any plans that she has because he thinks that they're stupid. So if they are at her family's for a holiday and there's certain traditions, and maybe the turkey trot, it may be caroling, it may be going to see the Christmas tree, whatever those traditions are, he'll hang back, or he will complain the entire time. But when it comes to his traditions, she must obey at all costs. His traditions must be revered. He will completely lay guilt on her, blame her, scream at her if she ever thinks that anything that he suggests or has done or claims to be a tradition is stupid. So he will expect her family to all play a specific card game, to open presents in a certain order. He will say, this isn't how we do it at my Thanksgiving. We're going to do it my way. Even if you're at someone else's house, he's really horrible. But and again, sometimes he's in it and complaining, and other times he acts like it's so stupid he can't even spend his time there. Whatever he's doing really, really hurts. So with my abuser, everything was about power and control, and there was always a significant amount of rage at the holidays. What was fascinating was to look back and think, well, he would get angry if we didn't have his children for the holidays, because and everyone was expected to understand how hurt he was and how he somehow had the right to rage. And then if we did have his kids, he would still be complaining, believe it or not. And he would be complaining about how they come from a broken home in front of them. He would be complaining about how, their mom left him. He would be complaining again. He was just always complaining, always screaming, with everyone running around trying to make him happy. As you know from some of my content, you can't make them happy. But this video could get very long if I added in that as well. I always want to say that at the holidays, I always owed him something. So it was interesting if we did go to my friend's house for a drink or spend time with other people that were my friends. I was then an indentured servant for a certain amount of time to him. If I was spending time with his family, that was just what was expected. So there was always hypocrisy in the relationship and two different standards. I also had to make up, I remember he would scream at me that I had to make up time with him for him and understand that his parents were divorced and that was awkward for him. And I also had to make up for the time that he lost with his family when he didn't spend holidays with them in the past. So he was previously married and he would often have to travel to his first wife's family. He would miss time with his parents. And he would tell me that I had to make that up to him in some way by understanding that he was going to be spending the holidays with his family. And of course, I wanted to spend them with my husband. It was very, very strange. And then also, when his kids were around, I started to notice that the control was ticked up a significant notch. So I had to either make up for the fact that their mom wasn't with them for the holiday, which somehow became my fault, or when I tried to do something with them, even do an errand with them, I was chastised for attempting to be their mom. So he would scream at me that I wasn't doing enough and I should be a better stepmom. And then he was screaming at me that I was doing too much, even if I just went and dropped them off at soccer practice. When I backed off completely, I was also chastised for not doing anything. So, in other words, I couldn't win. It was complete gaslighting. And he just wanted to be the one that was always in control. Also, when I asked him for help in figuring out the right thing to do, I was further chastised for not knowing. I was constantly told, you should know the right thing to do. And I said, well, if you know the right thing to do, just tell me. I shouldn't have to do that. I shouldn't waste my time. I thought you would be better than this, was what I was always faced with. And this always reared its ugly head at the holidays, because again, it was like gasoline being thrown at the fire. If he didn't have his kids, it was like a holy war with no end. So if your victim is actually in a relationship where there are children from a previous relationship, the abuser is really going to kick it up a notch this holiday season. You need to check on her. So he would rage for the entire holiday. Your victim has these stories. All victims have almost these exact same stories. It's unbelievable. And she needs to be told in very gentle ways that it's not her responsibility to make him happy and that the abuse is not her fault. So she may be doing all the cooking and chastised for not doing a good enough job. When he does the cooking, she's chastised for not doing enough. And then he'll chastise her for when he messes things up as well. And for the rest of the weekend, there'll be just massive complaining about everything that happened. He will say things to her like, I really hope you try better over the holiday season to make me happy. This isn't what I want. Again, he's putting her in a position where the floor, I used to think that I was living in a fun house with the floor very uneven and always shifting, always putting me in a position where I felt like I needed to sing for my supper. This is what your victim is living with, and this is what she's going to be going through this weekend. So what do? Well, you check on her. And don't criticize her for staying, as many of you have already learned from my work. It's not her fault that she stays, especially if she has children with the abuser. Let her know that you're here for her. As you start to hear about the fights and things going sideways with the holidays, let her know that you are a safe space for her to come to. Remember that to remind her that you were listening, but also remember that he's probably reading her text messages. So be mindful that he is around, either lurking over her shoulder or just goes into her phone. So don't say too much, keep things light, but keep things very directive, especially if you're on the phone with her and you know that it's a relatively secure call. So I know that that is not a lot of fun things to talk about during the holidays, but as the holiday season starts, I should say. But on behalf of the victim that you will be communicating with, please know that she or he is unendingly thankful and grateful that you're just on the other end of those text messages or the phone, and that you are there for her, because that is what all victims really want, just to know that they are supported.